The sun hung low over the Arizona desert, painting the sky in shades of crimson and gold, as Marcus Reaper Sullivan leaned against his Harley outside a truck stop just off Interstate 10. At 53, his face was a roadmap of hard living, scars, deep lines, and a salt and pepper beard that hadn't seen a razor in weeks. The patches on his worn leather vest told their own story. Hell's Angels, Nomad Charter, and beneath them, years of brotherhood earned in blood and loyalty. He lit a cigarette and watched the highway traffic blur past. 18-wheelers, families in minivans, retirees in RVs, all of them oblivious to the darkness that moved along these same roads in unmarked vans and rental cars. Reaper knew that darkness intimately. He'd seen things in his years on the road that would make most people lose their faith in humanity entirely. His phone buzzed. A text from Joker, his VP. Got something. Truck stop in Deming. Girl in trouble. Reaper's jaw tightened. He texted back, "On my way. Round up the boys." Within the hour, 7 motorcycles converged on the Flying J truck stop in Deming, New Mexico. The bikes rumbled into the parking lot like thunder, drawing stares from weary travelers pumping gas. Reaper's crew dismounted. Joker, Diesel, Snake, Preacher, Tiny, and Razor, each one a wall of leather, tattoos, and barely contained violence. They gathered near the diesel pumps where Joker stood with a slight woman in her 40s, wearing a truck stop uniform. Her name tag read Linda, and her hands trembled as she held a styrofoam cup of coffee. "Tell them what you told me," Joker said gently. Linda's voice was barely above a whisper. "There's a man inside, been here 3 times this month, always with different girls, young girls, too young. They never speak, never look up. Their eyes..." She swallowed hard. "Their eyes are dead." "He here now?" Reaper asked. Linda nodded toward a white cargo van parked near the back of the lot. 30 minutes ago. He's inside getting food. The girl's in the van. I saw her through the window when he opened the door." Reaper studied the van. No license plate in front, windows tinted beyond legal limits. "Diesel, check the registration. Preacher, watch the doors. Anyone matching Linda's description comes out, you whistle. Snake, Tiny, with me." They moved like a coordinated unit, despite looking like chaos personified. Years of riding together had created an unspoken language between them. Diesel pulled out his phone, making calls to contacts who could run plates. Preacher positioned himself near the entrance, pretending to check his phone. Reaper, Snake, and Tiny approached the van from different angles. "License plate's fake," Diesel called out quietly. "VIN's been tampered with." That was all Reaper needed to hear. He approached the van's rear doors, his boots silent on the pavement despite his size. Snake kept watch while Tiny, ironically named for his 6'7" frame, stood ready to block any interference. Through the tinted window, Reaper could make out a small silhouette. He tested the door handle gently. Locked. He pulled out a slim gym he kept in his vest, a tool that had served him in various capacities over the years, and worked the lock with practiced ease. The door opened with a soft click. Inside the van, huddled in the corner on a bare mattress, was a girl who couldn't have been more than 13. She wore dirty clothes, several sizes too large, and her wrists bore the circular bruises of restraints. When she looked up at Reaper, her eyes held that same deadness Linda had described, the look of someone who'd stopped expecting rescue. "Hey there, darling," Reaper said softly, keeping his voice low and non-threatening. "My name's Marcus. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to take you somewhere safe." The girl didn't respond, didn't move. She just stared at him with those hollow eyes. A sharp whistle cut through the air. Preacher's signal. "We got to move," Snake hissed. Reaper held out his hand to the girl. I know you got no reason to trust me. I know I look like the kind of man you should run from. But sweetheart, I promise you, I will die before I let anyone hurt you again. You got my word on that, and my word is all I got worth a damn in this world. Something flickered in those dead eyes. Maybe hope, maybe just desperation. But she reached out and took his hand. Reaper lifted her from the van as gently as his scarred hands could manage. She weighed almost nothing. "Tiny, give me your jacket." The giant shrugged off his leather vest, and Reaper wrapped it around the girl's shoulders, dwarfing her small frame. "Joker, get Linda inside. Tell her she didn't see nothing. Diesel, call Child Services and Detective Rivera in Tucson. She's good people. The rest of you, defensive positions." They'd barely moved 10 feet when a man burst from the truck stop, his face flushing red when he saw them near his van. He was nondescript, the kind of face that disappeared in a crowd. Average height, receding hairline, polo shirt tucked into khakis. He could have been anyone's accountant or insurance adjuster. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" he shouted, reaching into his pocket. "That's my niece. Put her down." 7 bikers formed a wall between him and Reaper. The man's hand emerged from his pocket, holding a phone. Not a weapon, but his eyes darted around like a cornered rat. "Your niece?" Preacher stepped forward, his voice carrying the weight of actual theological training from a lifetime ago. "That's interesting, because she doesn't seem to know you, and she's got ligature marks on her wrists that say otherwise." The man's face went pale, then hardened. "I'm calling the police. You're kidnapping." "Go ahead," Reaper said calmly, still holding the girl who had buried her face against his shoulder. "Call them. We'll wait right here. In fact, we already called them. Detective Rivera's on her way from Tucson. She specializes in human trafficking cases. I'm sure she'll be very interested in what's in your van." For a moment, the man froze. Then he ran. He made it about 15 feet before Diesel's leg swept out, sending him sprawling onto the concrete. Snake was on him instantly, knee in his back, zip-tying his wrists with practiced efficiency. "Found his wallet," Snake called out, tossing it to Reaper. "Jason Pemberton, Scottsdale address. Got a bunch of motel key cards too." The girl in Reaper's arms started shaking. Not crying, he suspected she was beyond tears, just trembling like a leaf in a storm. He sat down on the curb, keeping her wrapped in Tiny's vest, and started humming an old Johnny Cash song his mother used to sing. "Give My Love to Rose." He didn't know why that song came to him, but it did. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. "Boys," Reaper said quietly. "Time to fade. I'll handle this." "Boss," Joker protested. "Go. You know how this plays. Detective Rivera knows me. She'll handle it clean. You all got warrants and probation to worry about. Get gone." Reluctantly, his brothers mounted their bikes, but they didn't leave the parking lot, just moved to the periphery, engines idling, a clear message that they weren't going far. Detective Isabella Rivera arrived 20 minutes later with 2 patrol units and an ambulance. She was a compact woman in her 40s, with steel-grey streaks in her black hair and eyes that had seen too much. When she spotted Reaper sitting on the curb with the girl, she sighed but didn't look surprised. "Marcus," she said, approaching slowly. "Should I even ask?" "Probably not," he replied, "but I'll tell you anyway. Guy over there zip-tied on the ground was trafficking this little one. Van's got evidence, mattress, restraints, probably drugs. Linda inside, the waitress, she spotted him. Can you make sure she doesn't get blowback?" Rivera knelt beside them, her voice softening as she addressed the girl. "Hi, honey. I'm Isabella. I'm a police officer, and I'm here to help you. Can you tell me your name?" The girl's voice was barely audible. "Sarah." "Sarah, that's a beautiful name. Sarah, we're going to get you checked out by these nice paramedics, and then we're going to take you somewhere safe where people will take care of you. Is that okay? Sarah's grip on Reaper's arm tightened. He said the police were helping him. He said nobody would believe me. Rivera's face hardened. Well, he was a liar, Sarah, and I promise you, I believe you, and I'm going to make sure he never hurts anyone again. It took another 30 minutes to transfer Sarah to the ambulance. She didn't want to let go of Reaper, which broke something in his chest he'd thought was too scarred to break anymore. Finally, Rivera convinced her that Reaper would follow them to the hospital. As the ambulance pulled away, Rivera turned to him. "Fourth time this year, Marcus. Fourth time you've called me with one of these situations. World's full of predators, detective. And it's full of vigilantes too." She studied him. "One day you're going to cross a line I can't uncross." "Maybe, but not today." She nodded slowly. "The van's what you said. Drugs, restraints, and a laptop, I'm betting, is full of things that'll put him away for life. We found motel receipts too. Looks like he had a whole circuit worked out. Truck stops, rest areas, cheap motels. We'll coordinate with the FBI. Other girls? We'll find them." She put a hand on his shoulder. "You did good today, Marcus. You and your boys. Even if you are a pain in my ass." Reaper managed a tired smile. "Just trying to do right, detective. Just trying to balance the scales a little." At the hospital, Reaper waited in the ER lobby while doctors examined Sarah. His brothers had followed, parking their bikes in a row that took up half the motorcycle section. They drew stares from other visitors. Hard-looking men in gang colours weren't typical hospital guests, but they ignored the looks, a silent brotherhood keeping vigil. Joker sat down next to Reaper with 2 cups of terrible vending machine coffee. "You remember why we started doing this?" "Yeah," Reaper said quietly. "I remember." It had been 6 years ago. They'd been riding through Nevada, just a random trip, when they'd stopped at a rest area. Reaper had gone into the bathroom and heard crying from one of the stalls. Inside, he'd found a boy, maybe 10 years old, bruised and terrified. The boy's story came out in fragments. A man traveling with him, a family friend, heading to California. That day, Reaper had made a choice. They'd found the man and, well, the man hadn't made it to California. They'd delivered the boy to local authorities with an anonymous tip, and Reaper had promised himself that any time they saw something, they'd act. No more riding past, no more pretending not to see. The club had backed him. These men, these outlaws that society wrote off as criminals and thugs, they'd all had their own reasons. Preacher had lost a sister to a pimp when he was 18. Snake had grown up in foster care after his mother OD'd while running from a trafficker. Tiny had a daughter he never got to see after a messy divorce, and every rescued child was his way of protecting her from a distance. They weren't heroes. They'd all done things that would keep them out of heaven if there was such a place. They'd run guns, moved drugs, broken bones, and bent laws into pretzels. But somewhere along the way, they'd found something worth fighting for that wasn't just territory or respect. A social worker emerged from the treatment area, a young woman with kind eyes and a clipboard. "Are you Marcus?" "Yes, ma'am." "Sarah's asking for you. Would you mind? She's having trouble calming down, and she keeps asking if you're still here." Reaper followed her back, aware of the stares from nurses and other staff. He knew what he looked like. 6'2", 230, covered in tattoos and prison ink, wearing colours that marked him as 1%er. He was everything parents taught their kids to avoid. Sarah was in a private examination room, wearing a hospital gown, cleaned up, but still looking terribly small and fragile. When she saw Reaper, something in her face relaxed. "You're still here," she whispered. "Told you I would be." He pulled up a chair, keeping a respectful distance. "Doctors treating you right?" She nodded. They said they found other girls. 4 more. Because of the stuff in the van." "That's good. That's real good, Sarah. Why did you help me?" The question came out raw, confused. Everyone else just looked away. At the truck stops, the gas stations. People saw me. I know they saw me, but they just looked away. Reaper was quiet for a long moment, choosing his words carefully. "I spent a lot of my life being the kind of man people should look away from. Did things I ain't proud of, hurt people I shouldn't have. But somewhere along the way, I figured out that if I couldn't be good, at least I could do good sometimes. And my brothers out there, they feel the same way." Are you really in a gang?" "I'm in a club, a motorcycle club. And yeah, we've done bad things, won't lie to you about that. But we try to do right when we can, especially when it comes to kids. You kids are the only innocent thing left in this world, and you deserve protecting." Sarah's eyes filled with tears, the first he'd seen from her. "I thought I was going to die. He said if I tried to run or tell anyone, he'd kill my little brother. He showed me pictures of him, of where he goes to school. He said he had people everywhere." "He was lying, Sarah. Guys like him, they're cowards. They're nothing. And he's going away for a very long time." Reaper leaned forward slightly. "You got family? People we can call?" "My mom. But she's sick. That's why I was walking home from my friend's house. We don't have money for a car. He just pulled up and—" Her voice broke. "Where's home?" "El Paso." Reaper nodded. Detective Rivera would handle reunification, but he'd make sure Sarah and her mother got what they needed. The club had resources, legal and otherwise. They'd make sure this family was protected and provided for. A doctor came in to discuss next steps, and Reaper excused himself. In the hallway, he found Rivera waiting. "Social Services is coordinating with family in El Paso," she said. "Mother's been frantic, filed a missing persons report 3 days ago. Sarah was grabbed walking home from school." 3 days. Reaper's hands clenched into fists. What he did to her in 3 days. "We'll put him away forever," Rivera finished firmly. "And because of what we found in that van, we're coordinating with the FBI on a multi-state investigation. The motel receipts, the laptop data. We think he was part of a larger network. You might have helped us crack something big." "Don't want credit, detective. Just want kids safe." She smiled slightly. "I know, but I'm going to put in my report that an anonymous tip led to the rescue and arrest. Maybe that'll buy you some goodwill next time you get pulled over." Reaper snorted. "Doubt it. We are what we are." "Yeah," Rivera said, her voice thoughtful. "And what you are is complicated. But today you were exactly what that little girl needed." The club stayed until Sarah was transferred to a safe house facility and her mother was on her way. They watched from the parking lot as Rivera coordinated with FBI agents who'd arrived from Phoenix. The investigation was expanding by the hour. Pemberton's laptop had yielded locations, names, photographs. The network was bigger than anyone had suspected. As the sun began to set, painting the desert sky in those same crimson and gold hues, Reaper stood with his brothers near their bikes. "Another one saved," Preacher said quietly. "And how many we missed," Snake countered. "How many we rode right past without knowing." "Can't save them all," Tiny rumbled. "But we save the ones we can." Diesel lit a cigarette, the flame briefly illuminating his weathered face. "People see us, they cross the street, see our colors and think we're the monsters. But monsters wear suits too. Monsters look normal, drive nice cars, live in nice houses. We know who the real monsters are, Joker said. Been knowing. Question is, what are we going to do about it? Reaper looked at his brothers, these violent, broken, beautiful men who'd chosen to fight for something bigger than themselves. They'd never be respected by society. They'd never get parades or medals or recognition. Police would still harass them, citizens would still fear them, and the law would still view them as criminals. But out here, on these roads, they were something else. They were watchers in the darkness. They were the ones who didn't look away. We keep riding, Reaper said finally. We keep our eyes open, and when we see something, we act. That's what we do. That's who we are. They mounted their bikes as the last light faded from the sky. 7 motorcycles, 7 men with pasts they couldn't erase and futures they were still writing. The engines rumbled to life, a sound like controlled thunder, and they pulled out of the hospital parking lot in formation. Detective Rivera watched them go from the entrance, her hand raised in a small salute that none of them saw, but all of them would have appreciated. On the highway, riding into the gathering darkness, Reaper thought about Sarah's question. Why did you help me? The answer was complicated. It was about redemption, sure, but not the kind you find in churches or confessionals. It was about the small acts of good that don't erase the bad, but maybe balance it a little. It was about choosing to be more than what the world expected from men like them. The road stretched ahead, dark and endless, and somewhere out there, on another highway, in another truck stop or rest area or cheap motel, another child waited for rescue. Another monster moved through the world, wearing a normal face. But now, 7 more bikes prowled those same roads. 7 more sets of eyes watched. 7 more men who'd decided that if they couldn't wash their hands clean, at least they could dirty them in a righteous cause. The miles fell away beneath their wheels, and in the distance, lightning flickered on the horizon. A storm coming, or a storm passing. Reaper didn't know which. But he knew that when the sun rose tomorrow, they'd still be riding, still watching, still fighting their own way against the darkness that preyed on innocence. Because in the end, that's what they were. Not heroes, not villains, but something in between. Flawed men trying to do right in a wrong world, 1 mile at a time, 1 rescue at a time, 1 child at a time. The highway swallowed them, 7 riders disappearing into the night, leaving only the fading rumble of engines and the promise that somewhere, someone was watching. Someone was ready to act. And maybe, just maybe, that made all the difference. If this story moved you, inspired you, or made you see the world a little differently, please consider subscribing and following for more powerful narratives that challenge perceptions and explore the complex shades of humanity. Your support helps bring more stories like this to life. Tales of redemption, justice, and the unlikely heroes who walk among us. Hit that subscribe button and follow to join a community that believes in stories with substance, characters with depth, and narratives that matter. Share this story with someone who needs to remember that good can come from unexpected places. Thank you for watching. Stay vigilant, stay compassionate, and never look away.